Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Gaming Stooges Talks podcast. We are the Gaming Stooges.
I'm Jack.
You can call me Cloud.
And I'm Landon.
We hope you enjoyed today's discussion, and if you do, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel, following us on Twitch, or joining our Discord. Let's get on with the show.
Ba-ba-da-da-da.
Ba-da-ba-da-da.
You've unlocked a new episode of the Gaming Stooges Talks podcast.
Wow.
And we are going to talk about the Legend of Zelda series. But there's going to be a lot to go over, especially between these two guys. So we're splitting it up into two podcasts. First one, we're going to go over mostly the first half of the series leading up to Wind Waker. And then we'll do the rest of the series as well as the spin-offs in a part 2 later on this season. But before we get into the actual game specifically, of course, I do want to ask everybody, how did you all get into the Legend of Zelda series? What was the first game you played?
I want to say...
I actually have to think about this one, actually. I was thinking about it.
I probably playing Ocarina of Time on a friend's 64.
I think it...
I want to say...
I wish I could say it was Ocarina of Time, but I think that my first game was actually the original on NES, because I'm pretty sure that when my family had an NES, we had Zelda, and I played that before I got an N64. I didn't get very far in it, mind you. It is Zelda 1, and I was like 6 or 7, but I'm pretty sure I played Zelda 1.
I can answer this in 4 parts. The first one I saw was Majora's Mask. Brother was playing it. The first one I played was probably Ocarina of Time. Probably Master Quest for GameCube. The first one I owned was Oracle of Ages, and I believe the first one I beat was Wind Waker.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that answer all your questions?
That answers all my questions.
There you go. All right, podcast over. Thanks for everyone for joining.
All right, so
we talked about the Zelda.
No, so now that we've given everybody a little bit of background, now we're going to actually delve into the games. And
the smallest amount of background, which is...
Yes.
What was the first you played?
Yes. There wasn't a whole lot to ask yet. We'll ask more after the second part. We'll get there.
All right, fine. I'll wait.
So...
I'll sit here and wait.
The second part's not tonight, Landon. He's just going to sit here and wait the entire time. Anyway, so... The first game that came out, of course, was The Legend of Zelda, which was released on the NES in North America on August 22nd, 1987. We have seen many re-releases of this game on the Game Boy Advance as a standalone release. It was part of the limited compilation release on the GameCube called the Collector's Edition. It was on the Wii, 3DS, and Wii U Virtual Console. It was part of the NES Classic Editions lineup. It's been on Nintendo Switch Online NES app, and it was also on the Zelda Game & Watch. So that's a lot. We have the introduction of many core concepts to the franchise. Of course, you had the gameplay structure of overworld and dungeon exploration. You had the emphasis on the use of items to help overcome different challenges. You had various famous characters like Zelda, Link, Ganon. You had iconic items such as the Triforce, heart containers, iconic moves like the sword beam. You had musical themes and jingles that have carried across the entire franchise, of course. You had the world of Hyrule itself introduced. You had iconic locations like the Lost Woods and Death Mountain. The feature that's known as Second Quest. Sometimes it has a different name like Master Quest, but that was in the first game. And of course, there's a lot more. It had 9 dungeons. I am going to be mentioning the dungeons in each title because it is kind of a thing. that Zelda games do, so I felt it was fair. But the dungeons in the first game, they don't actually have specific names, except for the last one being called Death Mountain, but it's still in the game, it's referred to as level 9. The dungeons are level 1 through level 9. You have level 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. And on the NES alone, this game sold 6.5 million copies. I don't have sales data on anything else for this version of the game, or for this specific game. So, I mean, just 6.5 million on the NES, and then you have to factor all of the other sales that this thing's had. It's probably a lot. Thoughts on Zelda 1?
Zelda 1. It sure is the first Zelda game.
I think this is Jack's second favorite Zelda game.
Second favorite.
Do you not
after
care
the
for
next
Zelda
one,
1?
right? Zelda 1 is fine. It's just very archaic. I think it has its... I used to hate this game. I've kind of cooled off on it a little bit in recent years, but like, it's really archaic. There's really no direction for where to go. They really just drop you in and say, all right, explore the world. And which is why the game came with a guide when it originally released, because they knew people would be getting stuck on this game. I mean, as far as the Zelda experience goes, I mean, it was the first one, so like, I give it some leeway in terms of being like kind of janky to play. It's not bad by any means. It's just like the controls are pretty stiff and just a lack of direction. It's a little cryptic in some cases. But I mean, yeah, it's the first Zelda game. It's aight.
I will say that I actually have grown to like this game more over time. At first, I didn't care for it because of that archaicness and how like directionless it feels. But like, that was, I think, the point of the game when they released it, is they wanted, and yes, they did release a guide for it so that like, you could, you know, have hints and tips. But I think the nature of gaming at the time, like that was the point. They wanted it to be a game where you'd get lost and you'd figure things out, and that would accrue your time in the game. You'd have these aha moments. Oh, like, you know, you have these revelations where you figure stuff out, and that would be how you shaped your experience. Because it was 1987. Like, games were just, they were built different back then. And I think for its time, the original game still holds up really well. Like, I had a really fun time using a guide on Zelda Dungeon that Landon had sent me to get through it. There was, I was impressed with how meaty the game was for an NES game. There's lots of different little secrets that you can find. It's not, even though like there is a kind of pathway forward through the game, it's not very linear really at all. Like, you can technically do a lot of stuff out of order if you want, which is really cool. And there's quite a lot of opportunities to skip things entirely on your way through the game. Like, I never got the final bomb upgrade. Like, there's like, I think 3 bomb upgrades. I did not get the final one. There's like a couple other things that like aren't mandatory for beating the game, and you don't need them. So it's kind of cool that like, if you want, you can complete the whole thing, get everything. And if you want to just play through it at like a more casual level and just try to beat the dungeons and get to the end, you can do that too. And I think that's just a really great aspect to the game that makes it something that you can kind of go back to and revisit.
I do like this game a lot for those reasons. That it is open. I will say there are some games that were released around the same time that do like, that are still kind of like cryptic, but I feel like do it a little bit better. But that might just be the nature of, like, for instance, Dragon Quest has a bunch of NPCs that will like tell you about stuff that's happening in the world, which like Zelda is kind of doing like a similar thing. So like if some of the NPCs in Zelda had like been like, hey, there was a fucking thing up north, like where I heard a dragon roar. Oh, let me go explore that. That might have helped a little bit. They didn't really use the NPCs. I'm using that term very loose for Zelda 1.
Yeah.
Zelda 1,
there's not a whole lot.
It's just the dudes in caves.
And all of them are hidden in caves. And not all of them are like right out in the open for you to find. Some of these are like hints that you're given after you've already uncovered a secret to begin with.
Yeah, there is hints, but they are pretty buried into places. So it's like, I feel like, especially on this one, hindsight, they could have done a little bit more with like giving people a little bit of direction. But as is, I think Zelda 1 is a really good game, and that's like, even like replaying it, like I've probably played this game like 3 or 4 times to completion, like getting everything. And once very recently, around the same time Cloud did his most recent playthrough of the game. We
played ours almost like at the same pace. Like one of us would play a bunch and then the other person would play a bunch, but we were mostly like kind of playing around the same time.
Yeah. And specifically, most recently I played it on the Game & Watch, the Zelda Game & Watch that I showed off a little bit ago. And
I played it on 3DS through the Virtual Console.
Yeah, I've done a playthrough on that, and then the channel LP I believe was on WiiWare, and I've like messed around with the game on other systems as well.
Was it WiiWare or Wii U?
Oh.
Because that LP started in 2014. So
I was gonna say it could have been WiiWare, but you might have already moved it to your Wii U at that point. So it was.
That's true. I mean,
that is Wii U era.
I will say, I think this game definitely greatly benefits from later releases having a restore point or a save state. Just being able to, like, yes, there's a save system, but it doesn't really save your progress as well as a save state or restore point would. So I think that like later releases having that was really good for it, because that just made the game that much more tangible and that much more like easy to pick up and put back down, pick up, put back down. Like it was super easy for me to get in and out of the game.
Funny enough, the Game & Watch version does not have save states, but the battery on the Game & Watch is like long enough to where if you put it into rest mode, you'll be fine.
Okay, so it's almost like it's still saving your progress as long as it stays in rest mode. So like
I mean, I just put it into a menu, and then you can also back out of the game and then come back into it, turn it on as an application. But it'll hold progress for it, so you're not just like.
Okay. So yeah, any other thoughts, or we want to move on to the next game? Got Legend of Zelda 2: Adventure of Link, originally released for the NES in North America on December 1st, 1988, so only a year or so later after the first game. It's been re-released on the Game Boy Advance as a standalone game as part of the compilation collector's edition on GameCube as well. It's been on the Wii, 3DS, and Wii U Virtual Consoles. It was also part of the NES Classic Edition. It has also been released on the Nintendo Switch Online, as well as the Zelda Game & Watch. So everything that Zelda 1 has been on, Zelda 2 is also on. It introduced magic to the franchise. It was the first, you had a magic meter, so you could actually, do magic. That's something that's carried over across many different games. The character Impa. You had populated villages with NPCs in them. You had Dark Link. Got a bunch of other games, or a bunch of other things that were introduced or aspects of this game. But this game is very different, and it deviates from other games by switching constantly between a top-down overworld, more akin to like Japanese RPGs, and having a side-scrolling view for like most of the gameplay. There is like some what is like seemingly side-scrolling sort of thing, like, or not side-scrolling, but like side view sort of thing. It looked like when like you would get items in Zelda 1, but like not to the level that side-scrolling and like side-on views are in this game. And there's a level-up system in this game, so a lot of weird stuff going on. There were 7 dungeons. You had the Parappa Palace, the Midoro Palace, the Island Palace, Maze Island Palace, Palace on the Sea, 3-Eye Rock Palace, and the Great Palace. And on the NES alone, this game sold 4.38 million units. Of course, not as much as the first game, but for just being on the NES alone and being a sequel, that's still pretty impressive. And I mean, it's probably sold quite a bit more on the Game Boy Advance, and the collector's edition has sold some amount, so like factored all that in, you know, it did pretty good, I would say. Who here has played Zelda 2 and thoughts on it? I haven't played a whole lot of it. I've played a little bit, a couple different occasions.
I wanted to make one correction to the statement you made at the beginning of this. This game is technically not playable in all the same forms that Zelda 1 is. Because Zelda 1, you can play through Animal Crossing.
That's
true.
That's fair.
And you can also play Zelda 1 and demos.
So
for
I
Zelda
didn't. I was gonna say I didn't include stuff like Animal Crossing, Smash Brothers Brawl. Like I didn't include like game within game releases, at least.
But
except for like one exception, sort of. We'll get there. But yeah, But that is fair to point out that there are other ways to play Zelda 1, much akin to like the Game Gear Sonic games and like Sonic Adventure and like weird stuff like that. So
I just wanted to make sure, for the record, his statement of you can play Zelda 2 on all the same things as Zelda 1 is
most of the same stuff.
Asterisks. Anyway,
the stuff
Zelda
I listed, the stuff I listed is all the same though. So
that is true. Zelda 2. Man, what
Jack,
a video
have you
game.
played Zelda 2?
I have, but not to completion, because this game infuriates me.
I've tried to play this game. Like I've played little bits and pieces, both many years ago and also recently. I tried to pick it back up, and then I realized, oh, I don't really like this game, and then I skipped it to play Link to the Past for a little bit in time for this podcast.
I think the furthest I've gotten in this game, like, and I've given it like somewhat of a fair shot. I got to Death Mountain, and I'm just like, all right, I'm done. That's I've played all I need to of this game.
In this game.
Death Mountain fucking sucks ass in this game. Okay, I will say,
pretty early in.
Yeah,
that's all I was gonna say.
I will say, there are some interesting ideas going on in this game, for sure. I think the execution leaves a little bit to be desired, and I think that this game would really benefit from having like a from the ground up remake like Link's Awakening had on the Switch. Like this game could be really good if they just like changed some aspects to it. Not a ton, just a little bit. You know, you can keep the same gameplay and everything else, but like just add like a fucking, I don't know, something to make it less frustrating.
Just quality of life features, maybe some like difficulty or other like, you know, ease of use options.
I can't speak for the entire game because I've not played the whole thing, but I'm not the biggest fan of this one. I admire it more than I actually like it. But that's all I can really say.
I mean, so like I am the casual Zelda enjoyer of the group here. I don't actually consider myself like a big fan of the franchise like these two guys are.
I don't consider myself a fan at all of anything.
You're a maniac.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
He's a maniac. I would say, like, if I was a bigger fan of the franchise and I could see, like, I'd probably be able to appreciate this game a bit more. As it stands, like, for me, it's like, I don't really, like, feel much of anything from this game. I think that it, you know, had some cool ideas, like Jack mentioned. Like, I mean, introducing magic to the series in the way that it did is a huge deal. Like, that is, like, that's why I, like, said it, like, first near the beginning of that whole segment. And, like, other things, like adding in Dark Link for the first time, you know, that's cool. But, like, I don't know, just there's something about it. I think that approach that it took, it being different. Since I'm a casual player, if I want to play Zelda, I want to play The Legend of Zelda. I don't want to play this game that's different to The Legend of Zelda. Like, I'd probably appreciate it more if I was a fan and I can be like, oh, this is something different and refreshing, and it, you know, it has that going for it. But for me, it's like kind of outsider looking in. It's like, if I want to play Legend of Zelda, this is not what I'm looking for when I look for a Legend of Zelda game. Not saying it's bad, it's just different. Okay, Landon, tell us why we're wrong.
Why would I tell you you're wrong? This is not even objectively, like, this is absolutely the worst, like, Zelda game.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were literally just going to be like, okay.
I mean, like,
I guess I shouldn't say it's the worst Zelda game, because
it's the most unplayable Zelda game.
I wouldn't even say it's unplayable. Like, I was playing it and, like, it's fine. Like, unplayable would mean, like, literally you would pick the game up and you just cannot.
I don't mean literally, like, the game itself is unplayable. I mean, relative to every other game in the franchise, this is the least playable game.
It's very punishing.
I wouldn't say it's unplayable so much as, yes, it's punishing, and it's probably not palatable for someone that wants to play a Legend of Zelda game.
So yeah, it's very punishing. I think the things that could help it is get rid of the life system. There's a life system.
Oh yeah, there is a life system. I didn't mention that.
Yeah, you have to go find.
Why would they do that in a game like this?
Yeah, don't start at the begin. Like, whenever you die, you basically start over at the very beginning of the game. Although I think at one point it, like, switches over to a different area, but that, like, it's really punishing.
That's so much lost progress.
Yes, and that's like the big issue is I don't think I would have. I think I started playing this game. I definitely started playing this game at one point on the Wii Virtual Console, and I don't know how I made as far progress as I made, since the Wii Virtual Console does not have save states. Because that's rough. I don't think I beat this game without save states. I'll say that. Like, this game is super rough from beginning to end. Like, oh man. That said,
oh yeah,
it sucks. Let's move on.
All right, moving on. We've got a more traditional Legend of Zelda game with A Link to the Past, originally released for the SNES in North America on April 13th, 1992. It has been re-released on the Game Boy Advance with the inclusion of Four Swords as a package deal release. You got the Wii, Wii U, and 3DS Virtual Console releases for this game. It was on the SNES Classic Edition, and it's on the Nintendo Switch Online SNES app as well. You had the introduction of iconic stuff like the Master Sword. I mean, there's technically art of Master Sword, like, dating back to, like, the original game, but you don't technically use the Master Sword in the original game, so this is the first time you actually use the Master Sword in game. You had Kakariko Village for the first time. You had Lake Hylia and a bunch of other stuff. The game does mostly play like the original game, not Zelda 2. It does have some ideas taken from them. And one notable thing about this game is that this game was split into a light and dark world, so you had, like, two halves to that. There was 13 dungeons in the original game. You had the Castle Dungeon, which was like your tutorial dungeon. Then you had the Eastern Palace, Desert Palace, Tower of Hera, and Hyrule Castle and Hyrule. And then you had the World of Darkness, the Dark World. There was the Palace of Darkness, Swamp Palace, Skull Woods, Thieves Town, Ice Palace, Misery Mire, Turtle Rock, and Ganon's Tower. And there was a 14th dungeon in the GBA release called the Palace of the Four Sword. If I miss anything, by the way, I am literally going off the stuff that Zelda Dungeon had on their page for list of dungeons. So if they didn't list something, that's on me, not and not like digging deeper into like, well, does this count as a dungeon or not? I'm just trusting the Zelda wiki. Or if I said Zelda Dungeon, I meant Zelda wiki. I am trusting Zelda wiki with the dungeon listings to tell me what the dungeons were, because I don't know all of them for all these games. And this game sold 4.61 million units on the SNES alone. There was another 2.82 million units for the Game Boy Advance release, so there was a total of 7.43 million copies between those two releases alone. So that's pretty impressive. Thoughts on A Link to the Past?
This is Jeff's third least favorite game.
Third
of the ones we're
wait.
talking about.
Oh, okay. I LP'd this game.
You did.
Go watch that LP.
Don't
Link
go watch the LPs for the ones I did.
Those are pretty old. Link to the Past is a really good game. I think it improves on Zelda 1 in just about every way I could possibly want, from like I know it's not technically a direct sequel to Zelda 1 because there's literally a Zelda 2 between Zelda 1 and Link to the Past, but it feels more like a direct sequel than Zelda 2 was, just in terms of gameplay and presentation. It does a lot right. I think the sprite work is fantastic. I love the overworld, is really fun to explore. I think this game is a little overrated, though.
Ooh, spicy take.
There's a lot of people that would claim that this is like one of the best Zelda games, like top 3, unquestionably. And I'm like, it's not. It's good. It's really good. I would say there's just some minor shit that I have, like, that I take issue with. Some of the dungeons just have a lot of backtracking and drag for way too long. In general, there's a lot of like just kind of backtracking through the overworld. I think it's very easy to get like, there's a lot, I'm trying to describe, there's a lot of like pushback from like enemies. There's not very, Knockback. That's what I was thinking of. There's not much in the way of invincibility frames. I wouldn't say the game is unforgiving by any stretch. It's a fairly easy game compared to the first 2 Zelda games, but I just think like there are 2D Zelda games that would do what Link to the Past does better, in my opinion. I mean, overall, still, I think it's a great game, but not my favorite.
Wow. I thought this man was going to be Zelda A Link to the Past's biggest defender.
Wow.
Oh.
I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Yeah.
So, I will say my major experience with this game was actually entirely extremely recently. This is the most recent game I've played. I haven't finished it. In fact, I haven't even gotten to the Dark World yet, so I'm not far in. But that said, from what I have played so far, I think that it is really solid. I like the variety of items and stuff that you can do. With what little I have played so far, I already enjoy traversing the overworld. I think that like being able to do like a dash, it takes a little bit to like get the hang of it, but like I love just that opportunity to kind of speed around the overworld a bit. Not having that option back in the original game, you know, this is quite an upgrade. And I find that it is it's more forgiving than the original game, and obviously Zelda 2, though they're different games entirely. I did find it a little more forgiving because like right from the start, the game's like you have the opportunity to get like multiple bottles and just store some like extra fairies or like potions like pretty early. So like even if you might have a little bit tricky, like a bit of a tricky time with like some dungeons, like you will have resources. The game is very good about giving you resources. This game gives you tons of bombs and arrows and stuff. You get arrows before you can even get a bow. Like this game, it gives you everything you need to progress through the game. So I respect it for that. I have to play more, and I am enjoying a lot what I've played so far. Though I will say, I haven't gotten to the point where Jack's mentioning like the game, like the dungeons being really long, since I've only done a few so far. But I will say that the boss fight, the second boss fight in the Desert Palace, did feel like it took quite a while. The one with the, I don't remember their names, but like the little sandworms that like jump in and out. Like the fight wasn't super hard, but it took so long for me to beat that boss fight. Like it's a fun fight though. Like I enjoy the boss fights in this game, what I played so far. So like, I mean, I don't know how I feel about it like overall because I haven't played a whole lot of it, but like I can say like what I played, I have positive thoughts. I think it's a great game. I like it.
This is a polished entry. Wow. Well, I'm just.
This is a polished entry. Your statement is not polished.
This is Apollo Justice.
This is Apollo Justice.
Hey
guys, it's Trucy.
It's Trucy.
And it's me, Apollo.
Wow, I don't know where I am anymore. All right, thanks, Emma.
And it's me, Emma.
A Link to the Past. This is a polished entry that's still, I feel like, developing the series. Like they have not polished the formula, but it's definitely a step up. That said, as a child, I got lost, therefore it sucks.
Wow.
Yeah. I traded away the Game Boy Advance game I owned originally as a kid for a copy of Mega Man Battle Network.
I haven't played Battle Network, so I can't say if that's a good or a bad trade or not.
I think it's funny that of all the people here, I probably had the most positive things to say about this game.
Oh. I knew that if Jack didn't have anything positive to say, that this game was going to be in the toilet. Just throw it in with the rest of them.
I might be one of those, like, so I will say I have a friend who A Link to the Past is like, he debates with himself at times that might be his favorite Zelda game. And I don't know if I would be able to agree even if I finish the game, but like I can see like why he might feel that way. But to be fair, it's also like a game that he played when he was like much younger, so it's like nostalgic value for him as well. But
I feel like oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was going to say
I feel like a lot of the people that say like this is one of the best Zelda games are like old heads who played this game when they were like children when it came out.
Oh, he's older than us, so yeah.
I played this game as a child, and I don't agree with that.
Yeah, but you weren't a child when it came out.
I was a child when the GBA version came out, and that's like the first version I played of this.
Yeah, but we also had like a greater understanding of like Zelda games by that point in time. So,
I didn't.
I mean, yeah, all right, fair enough.
So it's
you were ahead of the curve. You knew that it was bullshit.
I mean, it's just like, like I said, I just got frustrated. Like it was very early in the game. I think I got through the Eastern Palace, and then I got lost on my way to the Desert Palace.
The Desert Palace?
Like, I don't get this. I don't understand. And then, yeah. So.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I'm just like, alright, this game's fun. It's fine. It does drag a lot in the back 2/3 once you get to the dark world.
The dark world, yeah.
That's where some of those dungeons like really start to.
Oh my god! Like you said, there's 13 dungeons in this game.
13, and not counting the extra one that they added for like the GBA release. There's 13. There's 5. Now, to be fair, one of them is the introductory one, so it is a brief dungeon. It's
okay.
Because you start in the first dungeon. The first dungeon is like how you open the game.
Are you including the final dungeon?
The last one that it mentioned was Ganon's Tower.
So yes. Even if you ignore the introductory dungeon, I would say 12 is too many. I think, like, either cut down on the dungeon size or cut down on the number of dungeons, because it's a lot.
I'll play more and I'll see how I feel. But
go watch the LP if you want more expanded thoughts on this game, because back then it was more fresh in my memory, but yeah, I mean, like, again, great game. I do like this game a lot. It's just not one of my favorites.
All right. The next game that came out was The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, released on the Game Boy in North America on August 6, 1993. There was a port to the Game Boy Color called Link's Awakening DX in North America on December 15th, 1998. And it had a full-blown remake on the Nintendo Switch, released worldwide on September 20th, 2019. The original Game Boy release was re-released as part of the Legend of Zelda Game & Watch. The DX version was re-released on 3DS Virtual Console and the Nintendo Switch Online Game Boy app. This game is a little different in that it doesn't take place in Hyrule. It takes place on Koholint Island, and it's known for referencing a lot of other Nintendo games within it. It introduced fishing and trading sequences to the games, as well as a bunch of other things that we can talk about if we'd like. There are 9 dungeons in the original release, as well as 4 mini dungeons. So this is also like where like mini dungeons started to like populate the series. We'll get more on that. But the main dungeons are Tail Cave, Bottle Grotto, Key Cavern, Angler's Tunnel, Catfish's Maw, Face Shrine, Eagle's Tower, Turtle Rock, and the Windfish's Egg. There was a bonus dungeon in the DX and Switch releases, the Color Dungeon. And then the 4 mini dungeons are the Dream Shrine, Conolit Castle, Moblin Cave, and Ancient Ruins. There was 3.83 million copies sold on the original Game Boy. The DX version sold 2.22 million more, and the Switch remake sold another 6.63 million more. So this game, with all its releases, has sold about almost 13 million units, so quite a lot.
It's pretty good.
But yeah, thoughts on The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening?
Good answer, Steve. I like this game. I would say I don't know for sure if I like this one more than Link to the Past or not. I want to say I do. It's been a little while. I think the first time I played this game to completion was when they put the DX version on the 3DS Ambassador program, if I'm remembering that correctly. No, that wasn't an Ambassador title. I think I just bought it on the 3DS eShop.
I was going to say, the Ambassador titles were all NES and GBA games.
Yeah, okay. So I definitely remember like playing it to completion through the 3DS eShop. And I remember liking it. It's not one that I think of when I say like, oh yeah, my favorite Zelda games. But like I would say in a lot of ways it's better than Link to the Past. It's at least like more condensed. It doesn't drag quite as long. I feel like the dungeons in general are a little bit better designed. I haven't played this game since I played the Switch remake, so it's been a minute for me, but I remember enjoying this game quite a bit, except for the crane game, which can go fuck itself.
There was the crane game. No, so I only really played the Switch remake. I had never really had the chance to play the Game Boy version. I did not get the chance to play the DX version on the Game Boy Color. So I wanted to play the Switch remake when that was coming out. And I didn't finish it, but I got pretty far in. I think I was on my way to Catfish's Maw, I want to say. So it was about maybe around the halfway point. But I remember enjoying the game. I will say I do think that the pace does feel a bit brisker than Link to the Past, but I also will say that I haven't played the game in about 5 years, basically since the game came out. So probably closer to like 4, because I think I played some in like very early 2020. So I don't remember this game as well as I want to, but I do remember enjoying what I played. Like, I think that this game was pretty solid. I don't remember really like disliking anything in particular, but I will say that like I don't really remember anything like super sticking out about the dungeons to me. Like, the dungeons are fun, they're fine, but to me I guess they were just kind of forgettable. I do remember the overworld. I enjoyed the overworld a lot. I think that the overworld, Koholint Island, is a lot of fun to explore. I think that was my one weakness with the game, is that like the dungeons are like a big part of Zelda games, and at least for me personally, they're forgettable to me. But I didn't like, not forgettable in a way that like I hated them. Like, I just don't remember them well. But I mean, other than that, like, I thought the game was fun. But yes, fuck the crane game. I think I played it like a couple of times, and when I got frustrated that I couldn't do everything because I wasn't good at it, I just kind of gave up on it.
You're so wrong about the crane game. Both versions of the crane game fucking slap. You just hate that I did super well in the remake for the LP. Yeah.
Yes.
I have
just
no
like
thoughts one way or another.
Just unnatural talent for the crane game when I struggled.
I mean, hey, that's just how it has to be. Someone has to be good. You know, this is the first good Zelda game on this list.
Oh, wow.
The first good one.
Yeah, it has fishing.
When do we get to the first great one?
I think this is the last one.
I was going to say, Landon will tell you the next one's definitely not that.
I don't think. What? Oh, no. I mean, if I'm going based off of having fishing or not, technically the next one is also a Zelda game. A game. We'll say that.
He's physically incapable of calling Ocarina of Time a good game. He can't do it.
Incapable of anything. I think I just gave myself a stomach ache thinking about
Tell us more about Link's Awakening, though. We can talk about Ocarina of Time after. You probably have the most experience with this game overall, because I mean, you've played through the Switch release. I'm sure you've played a decent amount of the original in some form. I'm sure you've probably played the DX version, because I think I remember you telling me a lot about the Color Dungeon.
I don't remember. I think the first version I played of this was DX.
Okay, that tracks.
Yeah, because that one was like slightly more common.
The thing.
Oh,
it was. Yeah.
Oh. I had to pass gas after mentioning Ocarina of Time. Oh, oof.
Had a bowel movement.
I had a bowel movement. Yeah, so I think DX was the first version of this game I played. And I've spent a little bit of time with the original, but like I've definitely played the DX probably at least, if not once, I've probably done 2 full complete like playthroughs, and then I think for the Switch version I think I did one before the Let's Play, and then I did one for the Let's Play. So I think
I remember that.
I did 2 back to back because I played it when it first came out, and then the Let's Play was like only a couple months after it.
Yeah,
it came out.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure that was like a late 2019, early 2020 LP.
Yeah, it was like pretty quick to get to that, which was nice. This game's a lot of fun. I think regardless of what version you play, but I would say the Switch version is definitely the easiest to get into nowadays because it has a lot of good quality of life improvements that, especially the last 3 games, like if they were to do something like this, and some other games that hopefully will, when we get to them, I really hope get this kind of treatment. This is a game that I know not a lot of people like see as like a huge big game because it's kind of, it has a very spin-offy feel, and that's partially because it was kind of like it was a very like
project.
Yeah, it was very much a passion project. Like, they wanted to keep working on A Link to the Past after it was done with development, and I think after BS like did its course, because they had the Saddle View stuff with A Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo, the Super Famicom stuff in Japan.
Yeah.
Which we're not going to really cover, because even I haven't played that stuff.
We didn't get access to it to actually play it like legitimately. So
yeah, and I haven't even played that stuff. I'll say out of anyone here who should have played that stuff by now, I haven't gotten a chance to, like through ROM hacks or anything. But that said, this game, Link's Awakening, really like, it feels like a fun passion project from the developers, and I think that's why like I really do enjoy this one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of
if there's anything else you wanted to add.
Yeah. Eagle's Tower is both a pain in the ass, but it's also a really cool dungeon because you actually get to affect the dungeon itself based off of what you do, because you knock down the pillars in it, and it's cool.
True.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the next game on our list is The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, released on the Nintendo 64 in North America on November 23rd, 1998, and it was also brought to the 3DS as Ocarina of Time 3D in North America on June 19th, 2011. The original N64 release has been re-released on GameCube as part of the Collector's Edition. It was on the Wii and Wii U Virtual Consoles, and it was also on the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass N64. And then it was the first game in the series to be in full 3D, of course. It also introduced a lot of like different races to the world of Hyrule. You had the Kokiri, the Goron, the Gerudo, Hylians, Deku Scrubs, Sheikah. They finally solidified a design for the Zora. They were in previous games, but they didn't have like the design that we know them for now. Like that Ocarina of Time like started that.
You saved yourself. I was about to call you out on racism for not mentioning the Zoras.
I explicitly left them for that point because it's different.
I know.
This was the first game that allows you to wear masks. There was the character Epona that was introduced, as well as some other characters. We had the human form of Ganon that we know as Ganondorf. This was his first game. And just a little fun fact, this was the first game to include quarter hearts of health, so you could actually take just a quarter heart of damage. There was 9 dungeons and 3 mini dungeons. The main ones include the inside the Deku Tree, the Dodongo's Cavern, inside Jabu Jabu's Belly, the temples of Forest, Fire, Water, Shadow, and Spirit, and of course Ganon's Castle. And then the mini dungeons are the Ice Cavern, the Bottom of the Well, and the Gerudo Training Ground. This game sold 7.6 million copies on the N64 and another 6.44 million units on the 3DS for a combined 14 million units. So quite a lot. And that's, of course, not factoring in the sales of the Collector's Edition or any sales of the digital version on the Wii and Wii U. So quite a lot. Ocarina of Time, though, it's a bit of a contentious game nowadays, but Jack, how do you feel about it? Landon, you can Landon don't Landon
What does Landon have to say?
He's got stuff to say.
He's leaning into his mic.
He's got stuff to say. But it's your turn, Jack.
I'm just gonna have to ignore that, I guess. So Ocarina of Time is, I think, just to call it overrated just kind of feels like, I don't know. I mean, it's like, duh, of course it's overrated, because like people call this like the greatest video game ever made pretty frequently. Like, this is often considered like one of the best games ever made. And I think
I would say I disagree with that.
It does a lot right. It's also kind of janky. I think this is a great game. I can like pick up and play Ocarina of Time like any fucking day of the week. I won't beat it in that day, but you know, it's a very easy game to just like play through. It's pretty accessible. I think it has really great dungeons. I think Hyrule Field as an overworld is really cool. Introducing Epona as a means of travel is really cool. The music is fucking fantastic. It has some really cool boss fights. It has some really cool set pieces. The controls are kind of ass. And that kind of comes with the territory of being, you know, the first 3D Zelda game, and also it being on the Nintendo 64. That's just kind of a given for most games on the platform. It's pretty slippery, and it's not the most responsive. But I think overall, this is a great game. I just think there's, like A Link to the Past, I think there's like a lot that this game does well that is done better in future titles. And yeah, that's about all I got.
So, Ocarina of Time was the first game of the series that I really sunk my teeth into. It might not have been my first game in the franchise, but I remember my friend bringing over, I think he might have either been playing my copy, or he might have been playing his own copy that he brought. And I just remember just having the most fun, just like cooperating with each other and playing through the game. And then I started playing it on my own. And I will say, I agree with some of the stuff Jack said. It does feel a little janky, but that's just the territory of N64 games. They had a single stick to work with for movement, so camera controls, you know, not the best. And just the fact that you have like C buttons for like C directional buttons instead of like just, you know, you have A, B, and then 4 C buttons, which is kind of weird, but you know, it worked sort of. I do think that it does have a reputation that it isn't 100%. So like in retrospect, the game is not as good as people say, but for its time, I think it did bring a lot to the table, and it did revolutionize gaming for its time. But that is early 3D era gaming. A lot of that stuff, even if it was revolutionary, didn't age well. So like, you know, but I will say I had a lot of fun with it. I haven't beaten the game, but I have been like, I'm like 90%. I was 90% there, multiple occasions. And one thing I want to really emphasize that Jack didn't really talk about is that the 3DS version largely fixes a lot of the problems that the N64 original had. The aiming, the gyroscope controls are so smooth. So like if you're trying to do like aiming, that is not a problem. And being able to map the buttons the way that you do on the 3DS as opposed to on the N64, I think is way smoother, and having that touchscreen makes things a lot easier. So I think that if you're going to play a version of the game and you have the 3DS, you should just play the 3DS version. It is, in my opinion, better.
For the record, I was talking strictly about the 64 version, and yes, I agree, the 3DS version is nothing but a straight upgrade from the original. It looks nicer, it controls better, everything is much more smooth.
Oh yeah.
There's no reason... The gyroscope controls make the archery minigames fucking playable, because they are unplayable in the original. They're so bad.
There's a lot of mini games in this game, and they're not great on the original N64.
Too many mini games.
Yeah, they're
true.
The N64,
I would be the one to say that.
Yeah, the N64. I remember that version. Trying to play a lot of those mini games was not fun, but I think that the 3DS version, touches enough up that it is a much more serviceable experience, because if you're like more akin to like, if you're not somebody that's been playing these kind of games for a long time, like some of us have been, then jumping in at Ocarina of Time, probably not a good idea. But if you play the 3DS version, it might be a little bit better. I mean, it'll probably be a lot more tolerable, a lot more palatable. But I mean, that said, even though I have a lot of nostalgia for this game, I wouldn't even say this is my favorite Zelda game. So like,
whoa,
none of us are saying that it's our favorite Zelda game.
Ocarina of Time's biggest defender, agree. Not even defending it.
So we can all So we can all say it's a great game, but it does have a reputation that it's not quite what it's cut out to be.
I refuse to say that. It's a great game.
That is the two people that were defending Ocarina of Time. Now let's hear from the person who's not going to defend it.
Alright. I'll say a word in its defense, and that it is a good blueprint. But man, do I hate looking at it. I mean, I don't know. It's way more playable than like some of the other two games that we have, like Zelda 2. But I would much rather play Zelda 2 than ever have to play this game. I don't know.
I mean, I think that's fair. Like I wouldn't agree, but I think that at least with Zelda 2, it is different, so it brings something to the table. But like, if you're from the perspective of Landon, like, it is the first of the 3D Zeldas. So if you like 3D Zelda, there's probably something that any other 3D Zelda game has done better than this game. So
even like the smaller aspects, I mean, I'm just glad. I hopefully will never have to play this game ever again. I did my time.
Due diligence.
I was forced to play the game. Thanks, Cloud.
I'm sorry.
Don't air quotes.
I was supposed to play this one, but I didn't, and they wanted to continue the Landlord Adventures, so
we had to.
I was forced to. My God-given right to play the Wind Waker.
I held the ocarina to your head because it's shaped like a gun, and I was like, you have to play this.
Play this, or you'll never play 3 games that you actually want to play.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Any other thoughts on Ocarina of Time?
So, the 64 version is it's like unseasoned oatmeal. It's just, you just got oats and hot water. And that's fine. I eat oatmeal all the time.
Yeah. It'll fill you up, but
but that's not necessarily what I want. Now, the 3DS version, that is a playable game. So
we're not going to call it a great game.
It's like oatmeal.
Is it still just a plain oatmeal?
It's got with some with brown sugar.
There you go.
Hey, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good oatmeal.
When you polish up, and that's part of what I would like to see with Link's Awakening. Link's Awakening had this. This game also had this. Majora's Mask also had this. All of these games got polished up somehow. I wish that A Link to the Past somehow got polished up, outside of a direct sequel that it received for the 3DS.
Yes.
I guess technically I got that wish, just in the form of a different game.
Yeah.
But, it's like, I kind of also want that, and like Zelda 2, to get those touch-ups. But hey, here we are. Fuck that horseback archery minigame. Fuck those VODs.
All right.
I've said my piece.
Moving on to the next game, there was a direct sequel, a direct follow-up to Ocarina of Time, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, released on the N64 in North America on October 26, 2000, and released on the 3DS as Majora's Mask 3, as Landon was alluding to, in North America on February 13th, 2015. The original N64 release has been re-released on the GameCube as part of the Collector's Edition. It's also been re-released on the Wii and Wii U Virtual Console, and again, like Ocarina of Time, is also on the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass N64 app. This game is very unique and revolves around the completing the game within a time limit with time travel in a world of Termina, and introduces characters like Tingle and the Postman. It's the first game from and I'm going to say from Nintendo, because there are Zelda games not made by Nintendo. We will not talk about them, but this is the first Zelda game from Nintendo where you could play as someone else besides Link for any period of time, and you had an ability to rematch bosses. So there's a bunch of interesting things going on here. We'll talk about more stuff when we each get to everybody's specific pieces. There are 4 dungeons and 6 mini dungeons. The dungeons include Woodfall Temple, Snowhead Temple, Great Bay Temple, Stone Tower Temple. Mini dungeons including Swamp Spider House, Pirate's Fortress, Oceanside Spider House, Beneath the Well, Ancient Castle of Akana, and the Moon Dungeon. And this game has sold 3.36 million copies on the N64 and an additional 3.46 million copies on the 3DS. It outsold the N64 version. I thought that was a pretty fun fact. So,
hell yeah.
A good nearly 7 million copies across the 2 versions. Majora's Mask, thoughts?
Majora's Mask is like, I would say the worst thing that I can say about it is that it's flawed in similar ways to that Ocarina of Time is flawed. Like, it has the same like janky controls and graphics and engine that Ocarina of Time does, but like the sheer level of ambition in what, like, the vision they had for Majora's Mask is insane, because this is like so fucking different. It couldn't be more different from Ocarina of Time in terms of presentation, gameplay, story progression, world building, tone. I think Majora's Mask is fucking fantastic. Like, hey, I'm gonna say the line, it hasn't aged the best, but I think despite that, I think what Majora's Mask does well, it does extremely fucking well. The story is one of the most interesting and best told stories in the entire franchise. I think the side content in this game is more crucial and more interesting than the side content in just about any other Zelda game, except like maybe the Wind Waker. But like,
so would you
even
say
like
the content of this game?
In general, yes, it's good content.
The side content is the content.
I mean, yeah, but like
so I don't have experience with this game, so I'm probably just going to cut in and ask questions to like elaborate more. So would you say that like more than any other game in the series, the fact that a lot of this content is optional, but the way that it's presented makes it more engaging, more endearing, more desirable to engage with?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think there's a ton of side quests in this game that like have their own little stories, and like they have their own characters that you know, you get to learn like so much more about like the characters that live in Termina, and you know how they're reacting to the impending doom of the moon crashing into the earth. And it's really fucking interesting, actually. It's so much so that, like Cloud said, there's only 4 dungeons in this game, so like you can feasibly complete this game with like 10% of the total items you need to for 100% completion. Like you there's very little you have to do to beat this game, but like it's like encourages you to like explore the world and like talk to the characters in the world and just go out of your way to do all of this like extra shit that you don't have to do, but it feels rewarding. It's, I don't know. It's something about Majora's Mask is just like, yeah, there's a lot of jank, and it has a lot of like crappy mini games like Ocarina of Time does, but there's just so much going on in Majora's Mask that makes it worth it and makes it like one of the most gratifying experiences in a Zelda game.
It's like a lived-in world that you actually want to be like a part of, rather than just a game you're trying to complete.
Oh yeah, 100%. Okay. And like, yeah, the time limit is like kind of daunting, and time does go by very quickly until you learn the reverse Song of Time, which slows down time to a third of its natural progression, which makes the game much easier to just to explore and progress. Obviously, if you went through the entire game on the normal time limit, you would have a much harder time than you would otherwise, but
and they don't expect you to do that. They expect you to get like
they
be able
expect
to control
you
time.
Yeah, they expect you to learn that shit and to like spend as much time as you need.
I was gonna say, from what I was reading to like do a little bit of research, it also sounded like the game, you're not supposed to actually beat it in that like one like time limit like you're supposed to. Like the game pretty much forces you to engage with the time manipulation a few times in order to actually do everything.
Like literally the very beginning of the game, like once you get to like the end of what would be like the prologue to this game is basically like the end of the 3 days, and the game is like, all right, here's the part where you play the Song of Time and go back to the beginning. You're gonna want to do this a few times. Obviously you
sets you up with a tutorial to like kind of push you into use the Ocarina of Time to like manipulate time.
Yeah.
So I don't want to like what's the word? I don't want to like shameless plug, but this does remind me of how in a video that I made for my Pokemon channel, something I had talked about with like HMs in this regard. It's like you are shown in earlier games, and this would be the thing with the Majora's Mask and the time manipulation thing. Like the game kind of shows you explicitly, like, here is how you do it without like really like kind of hand holding you. And then the game's like opens up and it's like, now use this to your advantage and kind of just do whatever you can with it. Would that be like a sort of accurate assessment? The
game handholds you into that. You're like forced to.
Yeah, you're literally like there. It's like scripted. The very beginning of the game, like you'll get to like the cutscene where like the moon is about to crash, and what's her name, Tattle, tells you like, you know, you need to play the Song of Time to like send us, or well, no, not Tattle. It would be Link has like a hallucination and he talks with Zelda, and then he learns the Song of Time, and then you go back to the beginning of the 3 days.
Is that like like the one time it really does it though?
Yeah.
Okay, like, so after that, it opens up and it like expects you to kind of do that stuff on your own.
Yeah, it like teaches you like the basic mechanic of altering time, and like, you know, basically telling you, okay, at the end of these 3 days, the world is going to end. So like, once you get to that point, you gotta play the Song of Time, or else it's a game over.
Okay,
and you do lose all of your rupees, bombs, and arrows when you reset time. You keep all of your key items, but you lose those 3.
The
when you reset
replenishable
time.
stuff.
Yeah. The thing is, though, there's a bank system in this game where you can deposit as many rupees as you want, and it will stay that amount even if you reset time. It doesn't make any sense, but it's a convenient way to make sure you don't lose your money. And the bombs and arrows are easy enough to refill that it's not really a huge deal.
Yeah, you get a stamp for the bank that shows that you have an account. But how is the money there in the bank?
Yeah, like if you're going back, like if
yeah,
that's weird.
It really doesn't make any sense. But it's just one of those things where it's like the game is trying to help you keep your money, so don't question.
So you have to just suspend your disbelief for a second and just roll with it.
Yeah.
Did you have any other thoughts, or did you want to pass it to Landon?
I'll pass it to Landon. I love this game, honestly. Like all of the, this is a game that's fantastic despite the janky nature of being a Nintendo 64 game. Whereas, like, Ocarina of Time, it's still a great game in my opinion, but it's kind of held back a little bit by that jank. Whereas, like in Majora's Mask, I hardly ever even think about the jank unless I'm playing, like, one of the mini games. But
yeah, one of the, like, fucking, what,
the fucking bomb,
archery mini
like
games?
bomb shoe bowling or some shit.
Yeah, because there's... the one minigame I believe I could not do in the original 64 version was the archery minigame where you have to shoot the octos.
Oh yeah,
in the water. That one
bullshit.
sucks
giant
ass. Doo-doo. Unless you try and abuse save states.
And it's another case where, like, this game did have a 3DS remake that, like, added gyroscopic controls to help with the mini games. And on top of that, the owl statues that you find throughout the game, which were previously just used for teleportation from one area to the next, they are now quick saves. So in the original game, you could only save when you played the Song of Time and go back to the beginning of the 3 days. But in the 3DS version, they added quick saves to the owl statues, so you didn't have to start the game from the beginning if you wanted to save your progress.
Yeah.
So
very nice.
Just a nice quality of life update.
Yeah. No, I pretty much agree with what Jack was saying when it comes to Majora's Mask. It really it is, I feel like the second game that really pushes, like, the world as the front end of the game. Link's Awakening is, like, I feel like the first one that really, like, the world is as much of a character as all of the NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
You might be able to say that about Zelda 1, but, like, yeah. But, like, Link's Awakening is, like, I feel like the first one where, like, Koholint Island is as much of a character as, like,
I agree.
Else.
So, like, with Zelda 1, it's like, yeah, the overworld is, like, enchanting in a way, because, like, it's this big, massive world, but it doesn't have personality.
Yes.
Link's Awakening's overworld has personality. So I would say that Termina's probably among that sort of thing.
Yes, Termina's very much among that as far as, like, having a world that has a very strong personality and, like, really wants you to explore it and have fun, because there's secrets pretty much everywhere, just like how Koholint Island has a lot of fun stuff to mess around with. This game has probably 4 of the most polished dungeons in the series. Like, each one is fantastic. Yeah, it's like, it's one of those where less is more. And does that really well. Does it feel like the balance of everything is, like, skewed this way now, as whereas, like, Link to the Past was, like, this way? Like, where you don't have a lot of, like, extra side content, but you have a lot of, like, required content? Yeah. But I feel like sometimes this balance, like, in this case, this balance works a lot better for this game.
when it has that level of balance where like the side content massively outweighs like the main content, it makes the game feel more open-ended and just kind of like a more authentic experience, I suppose. I don't know how better else to phrase that, but it's more personal because you're making the choices with how to engage the experience rather than the game saying this is the pathway you need to take. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
You can tell that this is one of the best Zelda games because we've spent this long talking about it compared to everything else before it.
I was going to say, like, what that's a strength of Zelda games is supposed to be, like, that adventurous, like, personal experience that you have with it. So, like, Majora's Mask, if that's a strength that it has, then it will probably be considered a favorite among quite a few people.
Yeah, Zelda 1 definitely has that strength to it as far as, like, exploration goes. Like, really, like, digging around and finding junk. But this one, it just has the character, the personality that I love seeing. So, yeah. Okay.
All right, so we've got a few more games, but I think now would probably be a really good time for us to take a quick break and, you know, do our usual, like, housekeeping. Jack, can you do that for us? Because I have to get up for something as well.
Okay.
Just explain our Patreon and all that other cool stuff.
Yep. Hey, guess what, everybody? We have a Patreon. There's $3 tiers where you can vote on what games we stream next, among other things. You get to vote in polls. No way. I know, right? It's insane. Thank you, Pixel. $6 Stooge subscriber. Speaking of which, the $6 tier, where you get access to exclusive content through our Patreon, such as videos where we make tier lists or do Pathfinder shit. You also get a shout out. As far as I know, there are still just the same two $6 tier Stooges, which would be Pixel Vixen and Sensi Zucchini. Shout outs to those two. We have a Twitch. This is the Twitch, if you're watching this live, where we stream several nights a week. We are currently in the middle of Wind Waker. We're pretty close to finishing Wind Waker, actually. We're doing Apollo Justice right now, which we're not quite close to finishing, but we're like over halfway done. Shit, what else do we got going on right now? YouTube channel. We got a Discord. Join our Discord where you can talk to us and talk about games that you're playing, games that we're playing, content that we're making, content that you're making. Whatever you want, man. I think that's it.
All right. I have Tillamook.
Oh, shit.
Cookies and cream.
Lennon has a small package of what appears to be Tillamook cheese.
I haven't tried this flavor yet.
Medium cheddar, baby.
My girlfriend got this, and she had some already. I don't know how she felt about it. She probably thought it was good. So I'm going to try some cookies and cream. Let's see how it is.
Pixel says, fuck, so now you gotta share, Cloud.
This is really good. I like cookies and cream ice cream. This is some really good cookies and cream ice cream.
I do not have any Tillamook products to shill. The only thing I have on me is, let's see, Drumshanbo Gunpowder Irish Gin, which I've been taking a few shots of over the course of this podcast, and it's pretty good. Shoutouts to Bethany for bringing this over.
You thought it was just one Tillamook product I had. But
Oh,
I
no.
also have more Bing Cherry Cheesecake frozen custard.
Lennon's always got the frozen custard hookup.
You know.
Bing cherry cheesecake. I wonder how Google cherry cheesecake feels about this.
Hell yeah.
Some good ice cream.
I don't have anything to eat. I'm just going to do a shot in solidarity.
Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. The next game on our list is actually 2 games, not 1, 2 games. We had The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Ages and The Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons, both released on the Game Boy Color in North America on May 14th, 2001. They've been re-released on the 3DS Virtual Console and are available on the Nintendo Switch Online Game Boy app. These are 2 full games. This isn't like some Pokemon Red versus Pokemon Blue thing. No, these are very different games. With supposedly Ages has more of an emphasis on puzzles, Seasons has more of an emphasis on combat. The gameplay is similar to Link's Awakening, but the games also allow you to make like different choices, and you'll get like a password that allows you to link to the other game so that you can unlock content in that other game. So they have like an aspect of that. There are a combined 19 unique dungeons and 5 mini dungeons between these 2 games. The dungeons exclusive to Oracle of Ages include Spirit's Grave, Wing Dungeon, Moonlight Grotto, Skull Dungeon, Crown Dungeon, Mermaid's Cave, Jabu Jabu's Belly, Ancient Tomb, and Black Tower, with mini dungeons in Oracle of Ages including Maku Road, Great Moblin's Keep, and Ambi's Palace. Dungeons exclusive to Seasons include the Gnarled Root Dungeon, Snake's Remains, Poison Moth's Lair, Dancing Dragon Dungeon, Unicorn's Cave, Ancient Ruins, Explorer's Crypt, Sword and Shield Maze, and Onox's Castle. Moblin's Keep mini dungeon is exclusive to Seasons. Both games have the Room of Rights dungeon and the Hero's Cave mini dungeon. Asterisk, one of those is like a linked game exclusive thing, so like you have to link it to the other game, but it'll get it if you do. They sold a combined 3.99 million copies on the Game Boy Color, so just shy of 4 million copies, and that does not include the sales of the 3DS version, so might be a little bit higher than that if you incorporated that in. I did not play these games, unfortunately, in time for this podcast, although I have been interested in playing them, so once again, this is going to be more of like a, these guys thing. Jack, what is your experience with the Oracle games?
Yeah, Jack, what's your experience with the fucking Oracle games?
That's an excellent question. I have played, I think, Ages. I want to say Ages is the one that I've played. I have not played both of these, honestly. And I also don't have a ton of experience with these 2, so I can't really speak on these to the extent that Landon can and will. But from what I have played, this, I'm just going to assume it's Ages, because that's the one that I saw in my 3DS eShop, which is the one I assume I've played more. They're fun. They're solid, Ages is, anyway, a solid Zelda title. I haven't played it in a while. I also haven't beaten it. I can't really say much more than that. So.
All right, Landon, take it away.
Good answer, Steve. Did you mention that these games were developed by Capcom?
I did not. These are not actually made by Nintendo.
Yeah, these are Capcom games. Same with Minish Cap.
Yeah. It's very interesting. So Nintendo, despite the fact that these are considered, main games in the Zelda franchise, Nintendo themselves did not make these games. They let Capcom handle a few of the handheld games at this time, which, Landon will tell you, they did a pretty good job, it seems.
They did a really fucking job, it seems.
A really fucking job.
Yeah. No, I really enjoy both of these. I definitely enjoy Ages more, and part of that is that's one I owned growing up. But I didn't really beat it when I first owned it. I got to the boss of the first dungeon, and I could not figure out how to beat him. At all. I didn't realize you were supposed to pick up the head and throw it at it, because you get the power brace in that. Obviously, I was a very dumb child, and had a tough time with Zelda games for a while. And, yeah. It's surprising I'm still breathing. But that said, I really enjoy Ages. Seasons is also pretty good, but the emphasis on combat in that one, in a game that is like like the 2D Zeldas are not super like technical as far as combat goes, like some of the 3D Zeldas are. So the combat gets pretty samey, and so Ages feels less repetitive because it's not bogged down as much combat and has more puzzles to compensate for that. And so I usually gravitate towards that one as my preferred game of these two. And like usually when I've done like rankings of Zelda games in the past, I usually give Ages quite a bit of big bump over Seasons, because they are very separate games.
So, quick question before you
Yes.
get more into it. Have you played these two games linked both ways, or have you only done it like one way? Like, because, I mean, you can play Seasons or Ages and then link it to the other game. Have you done this with both versions, or have you only ever done it like one into the other?
I think the first time I did a full Link playthrough of them, I believe, was Ages to Seasons.
Have you ever done Seasons to Ages?
What did I do for the streams?
Is that what you did? Is Seasons and
know.
Ages? Because
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I
wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if this was a genuine question or if you were like sassing me.
No, I was asking because I forgot.
Good question.
Yeah.
I think Jack's looking for it right now.
Wasn't, but I can.
Okay.
Oh, it looked like you were looking.
Pixel says
yeah,
Seasons to Ages is what they remember. Anyway, maybe I did Ages to Seasons as a kid then. I don't know.
Did Seasons to Ages, yeah.
Okay. That sounds right for the Let's Play.
Streams.
Whatever. Same thing. They're all the same thing. The content for the channel.
The content.
Anyway, I think I don't know if I've done both ways because I forget how I did it when I first like went through and played through both games. I can say this: I have not really done the like where you in a linked game where you can go and like go back to the other game, get a password, go back to the other game. That actually requires like a link cable to like transfer stuff between, because that stuff is like I couldn't do it for the stream. I could not figure it out. It was like nah. And I didn't do that back in the day because I really didn't. I don't think I knew like how to do it. And I didn't really care. So yeah, I don't know if I've done it both ways, but I do prefer playing Ages more than Seasons, to answer that question.
I wanted to ask mostly because like if you had done that, I wanted to ask your input on what would you say is the better way to play them both if you were to play them back to back and link one into the other. Because like I've heard people say that like it's probably better to do Ages first because it's the better game of the two from a lot of people, and then link it into Seasons to get some more content out of Ages into Seasons. But I mean, it could be a personal preference. I don't know. I don't have enough experience to say.
I'll say the reason why I did it the way I did for the streams is because I wanted to get Seasons out of the way.
I do remember that. I actually, now that I think about it, that tracks, because I do think I remember you were like, I want to get this game out of the way so I can play the one I wanted to play.
Yeah, like
Now, would you
ahead.
say Seasons is still solid? Like
Seasons is a great game. Like it's not a bad game. It's I just definitely don't rank it as high just because of just how like monotonous the combat gets in this game.
Okay,
and
so out of the ones we've done so far that all have similar gameplay, between Zelda 1, Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages. Where would you put Seasons and where would you put Ages?
Ages is my favorite 2D Zelda game.
Oh wow!
So that'll even include stuff we have not talked about, like stuff in other
we'll be in part 2.
Yeah, like other entries that we are not getting to, like that includes that. I would probably, out of those 5 specifically, I would probably go. Oh, see, and I've had a recent because of my recent playthrough of Zelda 1, I like that. Like, I probably would move it up quite a bit more, because, like, having a little bit more context with it in a positive light has, like, helped shape that. I'd probably go Ages, Seasons, Zelda 1, A Link to the Past, Zelda 2, from top down.
And Link's Awakening, where would that go?
Oh, sorry. I forgot Link's Awakening. I would probably go Ages, Link's Awakening, Seasons, Zelda 1, A Link to the Past, Zelda 2. Yeah.
That's what I figured. I figured, like, of the 3 Game Boy titles, you'd put Seasons on the bottom. But I mean, you like all 3 of them a lot, so.
Yes, I do. And I mean, the Switch version, I am factoring the Switch version in with Link's Awakening. I'm not going with the original version of it. But I'm talking about, when I talk about the game now, I just talk about any version of it. So if I talk about Majora's Mask, it could be the 3DS version. If I want to specify, I might do that. But for the entire package that is Link's Awakening, the Switch version, I feel like they did a really good job with that. It is up there for, like, one of my favorite Zelda experiences from the 2D side.
Okay.
No.
Any other thoughts you want to share on the Oracle games before we move on?
No. I mean, well, one, I don't know how much deep dive research you did, but originally there were supposed to be 3 Oracle games.
So I didn't do that research for this podcast, but I do remember listening to a Did You Know Gaming video where they covered this, yeah.
Yeah,
there was supposed to be a 3rd one.
There's supposed to be 3. Development time meant they cut the 3rd game entirely. But parts of that still exist in forms of some of the stuff they did. And the Oracle girl herself is the girl that's in the trees. Like, she shows up as an NPC. So the one that's supposed to represent courage, she's in there too, which is fun. It would have been cool to, like, see, like, a rough outline of what that 3rd game would have been as far as, like, development. But, you know, whatever. These are, like, if there is a Zelda game that I want to get re-released at this point. Now, I love The Wind Waker. And as I will say, we'll get there. I could go without that being re-released on the Switch. I would much rather have the Oracle games in some fashion
That's
re-released. Fair. Yeah.
Okay. So, the next game on our list is a little bit of an oddball. We've got The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords. I alluded to this earlier. I actually asked these guys if we wanted to talk about it separately, or if we wanted to fold it into A Link to the Past. They said separate, so it was released on the Game Boy Advance in North America on December 2nd, 2002. It was part of this dual package alongside the Game Boy Advance release of A Link to the Past. It was re-released as a limited time free download on the DSi and 3DS as 4 Swords Anniversary. I do have this on 3DS, actually. I haven't played it, though. Different game in the series, though, as I mentioned. It's got randomly generated dungeons for 2 to 4 players across 3 playthroughs called epics, and there's some differences between those epics. There's 5 dungeons in the original game with 2 more in the Anniversary Edition. The dungeons include the Chambers of Insight, the Sea of Trees, Talus Cave, Death Mountain, and Vati's Palace, and the Hero's Trial and the Realm of Memories were added in Anniversary. There were 2.82 million copies sold as part of the GBA release of The Link to the Past, as I mentioned earlier. There's no sales data I could find, though, on the Anniversary Edition. downloads. I wouldn't say sales because it was free download, but it would be interesting to see those downloads. But I mean, that's still not too bad as part of a GBA release. So probably quite a few people at least tried to play it. Thoughts on Four Swords? Did you guys get to play this game?
I have played this game. I don't remember anything about it. I remember when they re-released this on the 3DS eShop, which was a promo for something, and I don't remember what.
It was just its own release.
Yeah, it was free, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Free download.
I remember playing and like, I want to say I remember beating it, but I don't remember anything about it. Like it exists.
It's weird because it
Yeah.
is. I don't even know. Like, I know it's part of like the Hyrule Compendium, like timeline that they made, but I don't know.
Like it is part of the main like series in that sense, but it's weird. Yeah.
I don't know if it's part of the actual like main like. I don't know if it's a mainline title. Like.
I remember it. I can't remember where it was listed on the Zelda wiki, but it's super weird.
It is because it does technically play into the story of Minish Cap and Four Swords Adventure. Like but this game doesn't really have much story to it, and that's partially because it was just a bonus like multiplayer mode added into A Link to the Past.
So it is before Minish Cap, or after Minish Cap and before Ocarina of Time in the Hylia and Hero of Time timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
That's weird.
That's why I was like, it plays into it because it deals with Vati, and he like his whole thing is set up in the Minish Cap. And so like, and then this storyline continues in the it's with after Majora's Mask, and I think after Twilight Princess in that timeline. Like Four Swords Adventure takes place after that, but it's still like I don't know. It's like this one's a weird one. It's like it's for what it is. It's fun. It's interesting. But it's definitely weird. Honestly, I thought we were going to save this one originally for spin-offs, but then you mentioned it, and you're like, let's talk about it. I'm like, okay.
It was under, like, when I was, like, doing, like, research, like, it was under more major releases because of that timeline thing, so I was like, okay, I guess I have to count it.
Yeah, I mean...
So...
nowadays, personally, I don't really think of this as a core game in my personal, like, canon.
Yeah.
I think most people would probably agree with that just because of the way that it is, but...
And because of that, I also tend to just group this, Four Swords Adventure, and Triforce Heroes, like, in, like, it's... They're all technically part of the canon. They all feed into, like, stuff that other mainline games do, and, like, part of those stories. But because of just their multiplayer games, I just sort of like, well, they just get to sit here.
It's like they're like a side series, kind of like in the way that like Pokemon Stadium, Stadium 2, Pokemon Coliseum XD, and Battle Revolution are like not quite really side series because they're so connected, but they're also not main series games either. Like it's like it's weird limbo.
And some of that is just me. Like if Nintendo was like, these are main games, I'd be like, okay.
You'd be like, I don't feel that way, but like, okay.
I
sure,
don't agree,
why not?
necessarily, but that's fine. That said, Four Swords, the first one, as bare bone as it is, it can be a pretty fun time if you have to have friends to play it. This is not those other two games I mentioned where you can play them by yourselves. This one you do have to have a person to play with, which can be a little frustrating when you don't really know anyone who is willing to play it with you. And especially...
And nowadays, it's, like, kind of hard to do that. Like, you...
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, it's like... And it's a game that didn't have online when it was, like, re-released for the 3DS. Like, if it had it online, that'd be one thing. But it didn't.
I was going to say... Oh, wait, no. Four Swords Adventure was the GameCube one, right?
Four Swords Adventure was the GameCube one. We'll get to that next time, because it did come out after the Wind Waker.
Episode. Okay,
Yep.
That's all I wanted to ask. So let's move on to the final game of this episode then. So we wanted to end on something big, so I do want to make a quick correction to something that we had said in a previous podcast, I believe. So we had decided, we kind of talked it over, and we had decided originally. I wasn't sure we should do this in one episode, so I had thought about doing it in two, but I didn't know where to end it, and Landon was kind of the one that pitched the idea, where are we ending it? We're going to stop here with the final game, The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. That is the last game we're going to talk about on today's episode. So that game came out on the GameCube originally in North America on March 23rd, 2003, and on Wii U
March 24th.
Did I mistype that, or did I? Because I think I remember.
I could be wrong, but that, I mean, at the very least, that's the American release date for it. Yeah, March 24th, 2003.
I did mistype that. Yeah, March 24th. I don't know why I typed 23. And it was released on Wii U as Wind Waker HD in North America on September 20th, 2013, digitally, and physically on October 4th, 2013. I believe that also ties into, like, they had like a special like bundle thing going on with like the Wii U release originally. So there was like a weird thing going on where, like, if you got this special Wii U for Wind Waker that was mostly the tablet, the gamepad actually was like specially designed, you got to and Landon showing off all the cool stuff that you got for that.
I fucking wish I bought that at the time.
This
regret not getting.
This was not with the Wii U. There was a special version
separate
of the Wind Waker, like a collector's edition.
That came with that one. I do remember
the statue. Yeah.
So this is a 3D. So this is a 3D title that follows up on the core gameplay of the N64 titles. The Great Sea is a major feature and exploration in this game. There's some other aspects of gameplay, but I'm going to just leave these guys to talk about it. There are 7 dungeons and 1 mini dungeon. You've got Dragon Roost Cavern, Forbidden Woods, Tower of the Gods, Forsaken Fortress, the Earth and Wind Temples, and Ganon's Tower for the dungeons, and you have the Savage Labyrinth for mini dungeon. It sold 4.43 million copies on the GameCube, and an additional 2.37 million copies on the Wii U as Wind Waker HD, so between those two versions, it sold 6.8 million copies. Alright, you guys can talk about Wind Waker HD and Wind Waker as much as you want now. You have the floor. Go ahead.
Anyway, this is the best Zelda game.
Period.
It's
all downhill from here.
None of part two. We're peaking here.
None of part 2 is going to be as big as this part is for them.
I will say, we haven't gotten to my favorite 2D game yet, but still,
while you guys talk as much as you want about this game, I am going to go put my Tillamook back in the freezer.
Go for it.
And all we are going to say is go watch the VODs.
Go watch the VODs.
Join us on stream.
Or join us.
We're still playing this one.
We're still playing through this game. We have probably 3-4 streams left. I want to say 3.
Depending on how much I drag ass, it'll probably be 3.
Yeah. It has been a minute since I've played Wind Waker, but like, this is my favorite Zelda game. It has been for a very long time. The exploration in this game is incredible. The Great Sea is really fun to explore. Just like going from like tile to tile on the map and just like finding like these tiny little islands and seeing like, ooh, what's this one got to offer? Oh, it's a fucking joy pendant. Get out of my sight.
It's another one where the world has a personality to it.
Yeah, 100%.
I can understand some people not liking this specific world because it's a lot of water.
It is a lot of water.
But they make good use of the space that the game has.
Yeah, 100%. Like, and even if there is a lot of water, it's not difficult to navigate, and it's not like sailing takes very long. Like, as long as you know where you're going, it's not like it's, you know, completely directionless. And by as long as you know where you're going, I mean, the game does a good job of telling you where to go next. Like, you can choose to explore the entire Great Sea if you like to. You don't have to, but it's there. And there's like Majora's Mask, there's a ton of extra shit for you to gain from exploring the massive world that you have at your boat. I was gonna say fingertips, but, you know, you got a boat. I love the art style in this game. That's, at the time, was a very unpopular opinion, but I think the art style in this game is fucking fantastic.
It's
the
fucking gorgeous.
The cartoony, like, cel-shaded art style it has going on has aged tremendously well. Like,
I would just say, someone that hasn't played it, it's like, good art is something that ages well over time and makes people appreciate it more and more. And like, that's like the Wind Waker style. Like, it just looks better the longer it's been out. Like, like people look at it and it's like, this game came out in 2003. It's a phenomenal.
Yeah. Even like the GameCube version, obviously the Wii U version still looks great, but like, even the GameCube version, like, you go back and it's like, wow, this actually still looks really fucking good for a game that came out in 2003. I think the dungeons are fantastic. This game has really good puzzles. The combat is extremely satisfying. Like, this is up to this point, by far the best combat in any Zelda game. It's just extremely satisfying to do, like, the fucking spin around attack and, like, do the fucking
parries. The word you're looking for is parries.
The parries.
Yeah. This game has a parry system.
Yeah.
You don't have to just
fun.
use the standard sword. You can pick up enemies' weapons and use those, even though they don't really have a really great combo string at all. Like, you basically just swing and that's it. But
yeah. I don't think this has my single favorite combat in any Zelda game, and we'll get to that in the next one. But,
oh yeah, no. Twilight Princess is easily the game that I feel like anyone who says otherwise... I mean, I guess you could probably say the Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, depending, just because there's a lot
we'll get there.
Yeah. We'll get there.
But this game is up there for combat.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. The characters are all really fun. Like, just Beetle. God bless him. That's all you need.
Yeah.
You don't need any
line,
of it.
Jack.
Oh, thank you.
Gets him every time.
You got fucking Salvador.
Kaboom! Splish. There's so much, like, for lack of a better word, character in all of these side characters, just from, like, either the facial expressions they have, like their little animations that they do, their voice clips that they have that are extremely quotable in some cases.
I was gonna say 20 years going, you guys are still quoting this game.
I will quote Beetle until the day I die. I'm gonna be like 90 years old with like Alzheimer's, and I'll still be going, thank you.
You just won't remember where it's from.
You're gonna go shopping one day, and like they're gonna like ring you out, and then they're gonna give you your change, and you're just gonna be like, "Thank you." they're gonna be like, what? And you're gonna be like, I don't know.
They're gonna be like, what? And I'm gonna go, oh. Shit, dude, I love this game. This is like a top 10 game of all time for me. There's really nothing about it that I don't love. I can't name a single thing, honestly.
Fucking joy pendants in...
Okay, joy pendants and hunting for the Triforce shards. That's it, though.
I mean, I always enjoyed hunting for the Triforce shards, like, even as, like, a kid.
It's not even that bad. It's just I just kind of view it in the same light as I do, the motherfucker from Metroid Prime, I'm blanking on the goddamn name. The Chozo artifacts?
Yeah, the artifacts, yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, it's really not that huge of a deal. It's just like an extremely minor nitpick I have with like an otherwise perfect game.
I'll say there is a difference between those two, because the Chozo artifacts you can actually do, for the most part, while you play through the game. Like, you can actually get like a good chunk of them. This one is very condensed to after you have upgraded the Master Sword all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you like, that is when this portion like opens up, and you have to do them all. And I can understand the reason why they did this is because they didn't have time to finish developing the last 1 or 2 dungeons that they were going to put in the game. And so they just kind of like went, scrap, toss this in. And so like it does feel a little rushed, like a little bit like, okay, this is a little forced. They did fix a little bit of it in the Wii U version. The Wind Waker HD like changes it up a little bit. It's still there, but it's still fun. I still enjoy this section. And even like, because we've been doing the streams for this game, and like before we got to it, like I was like, I guess the Wind Temple is my least favorite. It's not even that bad. Like, we went through it and like
probably an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's like, it's fine. It's fun to explore. You get the fucking hook shot in it. Yeah, it's a pretty good one. Yeah, I like I like pretty much everything this game brings at you, from the characters, from like the combat mechanics, from the story. It has my favorite final boss in the entire like franchise. Like, that is we haven't really talked about like the boss fights or like final bosses, especially in this whole podcast, and I feel like that's a huge part of Zelda 2, not just the dungeons, but like boss fights in particular. This one is like very much up there. I think the funniest one is Majora's Mask, if you have the Fierce Deity mask, and you can just
and you just destroy the final boss in 2 seconds. Yeah,
you're just like, oh, you had a phase? Punch. Oh, you're on phase 2 now? Is this the third phase? Okay, well, give me the credits now.
Game's over.
Yeah. Whereas if you don't use the mask, it's like a challenging fight and pretty fun. But no, Wind Waker, favorite boss fight. It's pretty cinematic as far as like how the ending goes and everything. I love the ending to this game. I love the music. I love this game. Like, yeah. So I don't have very many complaints either.
I do want to go back and just ask a couple questions just off the cuff, and maybe you guys have solid answers. Maybe you guys have to think about them for a little bit. But since it was brought up, it would probably be a good idea to just kind of ask, are there any like standout boss fights from any of this first half of the series in your head that like you like are some of your favorite boss fights that like you just kind of want to give a shout out to? I think I have
my favorite boss fight.
I have a couple.
My favorite boss fight is the one from Link to the Past where you can like fall down to the previous floor and have to start the boss fight from the beginning again. That one's really cool.
Tower of Hera boss? Is that the one you're...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called, yeah. The one that's like a fucking worm that like spins around all over.
That's the one from Tower of Hera.
Yeah.
One of my favorites that stands out, and it's just because of like the concept of how the boss fight plays out, is actually in Ocarina of Time, the Fire Temple, the Volvagia, because it's just whack-a-mole. Like, you just take the hammer and you're like and you're like running around and you're trying to get to over where like wherever it comes out. You just whack with the hammer and then it just like gets stunned and then you could just wail on it. I don't know why I find that fun, but I always thought that boss was like just a standout for me. I think I remember even though the fight was hard and I did have to use save states a lot, I did think that the final boss fight with Ganon in Zelda 1 was a really cool boss fight. So like, I like that one because like he's invisible, but you can track him because of how he's aiming his attacks. So like you just have to attack him where he is shooting you from. And I thought that was like a really unique design for a boss fight. Like, so those are probably two standouts for me. I mean, I'm sure like you guys could come up with like 3, 4, 5 standout boss fights even more across these games, but like those are two I just want to make a quick mention of.
Off the top of my head, ones that like I can remember, Link's Awakening has 2 that are pretty standout. Eagle from Eagle Tower, and then there is the football fish that you fight. I'm pretty sure it's Link's Awakening that has a football fish that you fight. I think it's the Catfish's maw is where he's from. I'll have to double check.
Pull this up.
Honestly.
Let's see. The boss from the Catfish's Maw, or the 2 bosses, are Master Stalfos and Goma.
Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Football fish. You said Link's Awakening, right?
Maybe I'm thinking of.
You thinking of the?
I might be thinking
of one of the Oracle games.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
They are similar enough that like maybe.
No, it's Angler's Fish from the third dungeon.
Oh, it's from okay, yeah, Angler's Tunnel.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one I was thinking of. I don't know why that one in particular. Maybe because it's an underwater fight that actually works really well. Maybe.
That is a unique fight.
Maybe. I mean, like, I do enjoy that fight quite a bit.
Okay.
Any
other standouts for you, Jack, besides the one that you mentioned begrudgingly?
I like Twin Mold from Majora's Mask.
That's a fun one.
Where you put on the Giant's mask and you're like huge, and then you just beat the shit out of him. I'm trying to think of because I know there's a couple of ones from Wind Waker. I'm blanking on their names off the top of my head, so I have to pull them up. Let's see. I like the Helmarok King.
Helmarok King's a fun
from
fight.
From the Forsaken Fortress. Let's see. Goma in Dragon Roost Cavern is a good one. Here, let me pull up a game that's not one of those two. Because I know Ocarina of Time has some pretty good ones too. Fucking. Oh, I like Twin Rova from Ocarina of Time a lot. or Bongo Bongo.
Oh my!
Don't
get me started on Bongo Bongo. So here's the thing. The reason I didn't beat Ocarina of Time is because I couldn't beat Bongo Bongo because that motherfucker, because he would just pat on the freaking drum. I could not get a good hit on him. Like, I know that there's like a certain trick to him. My stupid kid brain, I just could not get a handle on him. And here's the funny thing. I did the Shadow Temple after the Spirit Temple. So this was the last temple in the game that I had to do before Ganon's Castle. So I was this close to beating the game, but I just couldn't beat Bongo Bongo.
I love the I'll post it in the spoilers, but I love the official artwork for Bongo Bongo and his like weird gross hands.
God.
They're just so detailed.
I was gonna say, we've talked about Boom Boom's hands. Bongo
Bongo's hands.
Oh God.
Yeah, that's about all I got so far.
Any others from you, Landon, that you want to give a quick shout out to?
Those are really the ones that come to mind right off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to ask, like, if you could think of like just a couple iconic characters, besides probably like the big three obvious ones like Link, Zelda, Ganon. But are there any characters that really stick out to you as being favorites of yours, introduced in this series, in this like half of the franchise?
The Happy Mask Salesman stands out a lot.
He's a lot of fun.
He's kind of, yeah. He's like pretty much the, I don't want to say central character to Majora's Mask because he kind of just shows up at the beginning and then fucks off for a while. But like, he's a very important character, and he also like just stands out in a very like creepy and unsettling way.
Even in Ocarina of Time, like he just has this weird presence to him that's just like, I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this character.
Yeah. I like, let's see, Anju and Cafe and their entire story in Majora's Mask is really, I mean, it's really sad, but like it's a memorable quest as a result. Let's see. I know she's technically Zelda, but Tetra in Wind Waker is like a really fun character. And all the pirates too are just like, they're just goofy. They're just like these goofy like misfit gang of pirates stealing treasure from people. Trying to think if there's anything else that stands out. I love shit, what's his name? Orca from Wind Waker. The guy that teaches you like the different sword techniques.
Just say every character from The Legend of Zelda, the Wind Waker.
Every character from Wind Waker and Majora's Mask. Honestly. Except for Tingle. Fuck you, Tingle. Beetle, of course.
Of course.
I love Beetle. That's all that's coming to mind right now.
I've got a few. I trying to think just to make sure that I get this right. Okay. So I like Darunia, the chief of the Gorons in Ocarina of Time. I don't know why I always liked the Gorons. I just thought that they were just great characters, just a lot of fun. So like
Darunia is great.
Yeah, so I always like Darunia. I also like Malon over at Lon Lon Ranch and Epona. Like, part of the reason I liked getting Epona was because of the story behind getting Epona. I just thought that that whole segment at Lon Lon Ranch was great, and Malon as a character is really great. Those are like two that stick out to me. Three if you count Epona itself. don't have enough experience with more of the games that have more characters in this half of the series, unfortunately. So like outside of Ocarina of Time, it's like there's a few characters in like Link's Awakening, but like I think that Link's Awakening is a game where like the world itself of Koholint Island just has so much character, although the characters themselves, like, I haven't played enough for them to stick out as much for me, so like I don't really have anything to say there, and I haven't played Majora's Mask or Wind Waker, so I don't really have enough to say there either. So I think those are the standouts for me, at least.
Besides the ones that we've really mentioned, I would say from Link's Awakening, two I really like. Marin, the main girl.
Yep.
From that one, her whole story is really great, and she's just like a fun character to deal with. Plus, she becomes I don't know, like you could add her into your like inventory.
Yeah, inventory.
It's funny.
You literally, it's like one of the most memed pictures of like the entire game. Is just Link holding her up like an item. Is like da, da, da.
And then two, also from Link's Awakening, the goat chick that's fucking catfishing the guy.
Oh yeah. She like sends him the picture of Princess Peach.
Yeah.
With the fucking hoof print signature.
Yeah.
Oh god.
I think I remember that from the Let's Play, yeah. Because I didn't actually I didn't play it to that point, but I do remember that.
Classic character.
But yeah, those are the two that really stand out to me, besides ones that we've already mentioned.
Okay. So I'll ask more questions that like encompass the whole franchise at the end of the second part. I think this is a good stopping point. But before we go, obviously we've got our typical, wrap-up segment. How has everybody been? It has been several weeks. What have we been up to?
I was sick for like a week and a half. I had like the flu or some shit going on with me, but like I felt terrible for a little while. I went to the doctor though for multiple different reasons. Specifically my cardiologist, and thankfully everything seems fine. There's nothing especially wrong with me. Had my blood work done. They said it all looked good, so I'm not dying. That's a good thing.
That's funny, because on stream like 2 weeks ago, you were like, I am dying.
I said I might be dying.
Yeah.
I didn't say I was dying. I said I might be.
Now you can confirm that you are not.
I felt like I was dying.
I took it as he was going to be dead in 3 weeks. And we'd have to find a replacement.
You already have the replacement lined up, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Cloud and I did interviews.
It's Cheese Whiz, isn't it?
I don't remember this.
That's because you were so tired from all your working.
Oh yeah. That tracks. That's right.
Otherwise, I have been up to. I don't want to share too much about this, but it's a temporary thing for the coming couple of months, but Bethany is moving in with me for a short amount of time before she finds she has a new place set up to live in, but it won't be until the end of June that she's able to move in. So I'm letting her stay here as a temporary solution because she doesn't have any other options at the moment. But
okay.
So we've been kind of moving her stuff over to my place over the last week or so, and gonna continue to do more of that this upcoming weekend. Although by the time this podcast is out, then that will have already happened. But oh well. That is about it.
I've been up to a few things. I'm trying to remember because it has been. We put this off an extra week. We normally do these every 2 weeks, but this is like 3 weeks out from the last time we did one. I finished a new video for the solo channel that I do for Pokemon Azure Flute. That's been doing pretty well. It's already like caught up to the previous 2 videos, so I've got a nice streak going of like several videos that have all cracked 5 digits of views each, so that's pretty good. I was supposed to get a new video out very soon, but I think I'm gonna have to push it back a little bit. I'm working on that. Got another video coming. The life of a YouTuber, man, it never stops. The years start coming and they don't stop coming. I got back into playing Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 because I got my mods working again on PC. And that is a rabbit hole that once you fall in, it's kind of hard to dig back out of. But I'm having a blast with that. I've been tinkering around with the new mods and like fleshing my characters out. So that's been a lot of fun. I might even play a little bit of that before bed, to be honest. I haven't played in a while since I got that going again, but that's been fun. I got back into playing Magic the Gathering with my friends more frequently. I've joined up with them for 2 previous weeks and probably going to join them again tomorrow as well, because I've agreed to provide some cards to a I think like a school or other like extracurricular building where like one of my friends is teaching kids to play Magic, and I want to help pitch in. We're all going to provide some cards that we don't need to, just give them stuff to be able to use. So helps get some extra cards off my back. Plus it'll be a nice way to meet up with my friends again to give those cards to him so he can bring those in. But that's been fun to get together with my friends to do again. I am like 3 episodes away from finishing Freerin, and it has gotten better and better and better every episode.
I finished Freerin recently. It's really fucking good.
Yeah, like I like it a lot. I do think that I wouldn't say it's like one of my top favorite anime ever. I think it's a little too low key for that for me, but it is really good, and I'm excited to finish it up. I know that there's going to be a second season. Just like the way they slowed the pace down across the second half, like I was like, okay, there's no way this is ending after 1 season. There's just too much going on. So like I'm excited for whenever that happens. Been rewatching a lot of old anime, like classic anime. Like I've been watching more Yu Yu Hakusho. My girlfriend and I have watched more Inuyasha. Like Inuyasha actually holds up pretty good. It's a pretty solid show, even like going back to it now. I think I mentioned everything. Yeah, Magic, video, Freerin, anime.
What about that classic anime Sandland that you recently watched?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I also watched the Sandland anime. Not the movie, like the series. There's not all the I don't know if all the episodes are out yet because I only watched what was out when I watched it.
No,
because it's supposed
to after the drop, they are starting to do them weekly now.
Okay, that makes sense. I haven't watched any of the new episodes after the initial drop. I watched the first 7 episodes, and so far, really good. I'll say that the style is very manga-esque, but it does have this weird uncanny valley because it's got like a 3D-ish element to it. But once you've gotten accustomed to this weird style, it blends really well. It looks really good. And like even my girlfriend's like really smitten with the show. Like it's been a fun watch. I got to get back to it now that I know that like the rate that the episodes are coming out, because like it's very well paced, and there's always something interesting happening, and I like the characters a lot. It's really good. So yeah, thank you for reminding me to talk about that. Sandland's pretty good, and it's having me pretty excited for the game that's coming out later this month. When this goes out to other platforms, it'll be this month. But as it stands, it's next month. About a month from now. So
just say when it comes out on Landon's birthday.
On Landon's birthday.
Yeah.
It comes out on Landon's birthday. Landon is legally obligated to buy the game because it's coming out on his birthday.
Or comes out the day after Jack's birthday.
Yeah, but that's more words.
God damn it, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, yeah, that's more words.
I said way more words than Jack used, so like
it's true.
Anything's less than what I said.
You had to really specify, and it's just like, well, Landon's birthday.
Yeah.
Super easy.
Maybe I was trying to not dox you.
Listen, I think I doxed me the last time we talked about Sandland, so does it really matter?
True.
We fucking do streams on Jack and I's birthday, like, to celebrate it.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah.
True.
But, yeah.
I'm done, by the way. You can go ahead.
Okay. I started Sandland. I only got through the first episode, and I haven't gotten a chance to go back to it, but I really enjoyed the first episode. I reread the manga, basically around the same time that the anime was dropping, and I don't know if I ever actually completed the manga. It's only 14 chapters, but
it's a short manga.
It is, but it's really good. I really love the world that Toriyama had built in that. It was like, it wasn't his last manga. I'm pretty sure Jocko was the last one he penned. Like he himself did. But this is like one of the last like unique worlds that he really built. Because Jocko's like obviously
it's built off Dragon Ball.
Yeah, it's built in there. So this is like one of the last worlds where it's like separate from anything else he really did. And it's a really cool world.
Like you can tell, like, I mean, he does borrow some designs from like existing characters from his other works, but like the world that he builds is so thoroughly unique despite that. And like it showed that he still had a lot left in the tank. So, I mean, we didn't get to say it because this was a Zelda podcast, but in between the last podcast and this one, Akira Toriyama did pass away, and he's gone way too soon. He left a huge mark on manga, anime, video games. Like his presence, his influence was felt everywhere. Like our whole generation would not be the same without what he had left behind. And I will say I am glad that Sandland, he got to do that, because like it showed that he knew, even near the end of his life, he still knew how to build a world with a bunch of characters that just made you care more than like you might otherwise. Like it was just
Sandland was originally in like 2000.
Yeah. So like
yeah.
Oh wow, I didn't even realize it was that far back. I thought it was like maybe a few years ago, like mid 2010s or something.
No.
Oh wow.
I think that's more around when Jocko was like, I think either early 2010s or like late.
I was gonna say, wasn't Jocko like right around the time? Like, I think it was like didn't he do like? It was around the time of Battle of Gods and Resurrection F, but I don't remember exactly like when it was. Like
it was like, I think it was a little before that. I think it was like, I want to say it was 2012.
Yeah, because I think he did Jocko as a way to introduce him into Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, right? Because he appears in Resurrection F, but I remember that he had existed before Resurrection F, so I think that tracks. But yeah, I am glad that like they did an adaptation of Sandland, but it's funny because like Beelzebub's dad's literally just Deborah. Like they show off his dad, and I'm like, that's Deborah. That's literally just fucking Deborah. It's great.
It is. Jocko was it ran in 2013.
Okay.
So 2 years before the Super manga started.
Okay. Jack, have you seen Sandland?
I have not. I'm aware of its existence, and I would like to watch it, but I've not seen it yet.
Well, I mean, it is still ongoing, so if you wanted to like wait until like the last episode airs, it is a short show. So it's interesting because the new episodes that are coming out now are actually new. It's new material because like they had the first half is an adaptation of the manga that he did, and the movie that had originally come out is effectively the first 6 episodes of the show. And then they have a whole new arc that's starting now that's like based around like just continuing on from that. So
it's on Hulu,
it's good
Disney
stuff
Plus.
Though. Yeah.
Anyway,
So
Yeah.
I watched the first episode of that. That happened. I do need to get in and watch the rest of it. And I'm planning on it. It's just stuff came up. Let's see. I actually started playing the new Sharon the Wanderer game. And I realized pretty quickly that man, those games are tough. I don't know if you guys really know about the Sharon ones, but in pretty much all of them, when you like lose, you start at the beginning back at level 1 with no equipment or anything. They're like true roguelikes. Yeah.
Nah. Yeah. Damn, they really like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is like baby's first mystery dungeon, and that's saying something considering how challenging those games can be.
Absolutely baby's first mystery dungeon. I was like, oh.
You were like, damn, I didn't know what I just signed up for.
Oh, okay. So like I've gotten, I think the dungeon that you're going through is about 31 floors, is what they said. But there's a lot of side areas you can end up going, like when you're making a run. So like I think I've gotten up to about floor 12 or 13. Is like the furthest I've made. What I've played, it's a lot of fun. It is all of the same like mechanics and everything, pretty much. That like all the mystery dungeons are made by Chunsoft. It's just how it is. But like this one in particular does the formula well. It's just really frustrating to like have a good run and then get killed. Oh well. I think I'm gonna put it. I haven't played it in a little bit. I might boot it back up once or twice more. But I want to play the new Princess Peach game. I picked that up. I just haven't actually played it yet.
I'm surprised you haven't played it yet.
Part of it was like I'm waiting until next week when I have my week off. So I just want to while just we're like in the car and everything, I'm just gonna binge it, and then probably pick up something else then too. But yeah, I was like, I'm gonna play Sharon because I don't know how much game time I'm gonna have between when I finished Another Code Recollection, which is something else I did in the meantime. Really love that game. Baby puzzles in that, but really love the story. The characters are really well made in that game. I really hope they do Hotel Dusk at some point, because I would love to like experience that in that, but I also recently got the DS version, so I can just play that. And then I guess I've been playing a lot of Runner 2, which is, it's Runner 2.
Good old Runner 2.
Let's see. Is there anything on the Shonen Jump app that I've recently read?
I can't believe that the Switch isn't a failed system anymore.
Just barely.
It took 7 years.
Still needs a physical release for it to truly be a successful system.
it needs a physical release of Runner 2, and I could also use a standalone physical release of Paper Mario.
Would be nice.
I do not count the Nintendo 64 online version, and also Pokemon Mystery Dungeon would also be cool. Another one. I just want another one. Okay. Oh yeah, I read through Spy in the Family. That's I was like going through what I've been recently reading. I started and like caught up on Spy in the Family. I actually enjoyed that. It was like a lot of fun.
Is that how it's pronounced? Because I don't know.
No, Spy Family.
It's just Spy.
It's just Spy Family.
Spy Family.
But
I
made it.
Fucking Spy in the Family.
I didn't know if I didn't know if it was Spy X Family, Spy Cross Family.
It's just Spy Family. But I made the joke to Jack.
It's like a Hunter x Hunter thing where it's like the X you don't even pronounce it.
Yeah. No, it's just Spy Family. But no, I made the joke to Jack one night when I first told him, and I think I made the slip then, and so I just kept doing it because but yeah, Spy Family,
Spy in the Family,
Spy in the Family. Really enjoyed reading that. It's a lot of fun. And then I also read through like a pretty like slice of life one called Blue Box, which is
never heard of it.
It's about like high schoolers on like in a sports centric school, and the main character is part of the school's badminton team, and his girlfriend is part of the girls' basketball team, and it's just like as slice of life as you can get. And I guess I just needed something.
Sounds very, very basic.
Yeah,
just a nice palate cleanser.
The big twist of this one
that's something to put on.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it was. But the big twist is her family moves, but she wants to stay in Japan because they move like across seas. So she wants to stay in Japan. So she ends up moving into his like family's home because his mom and her mom like knew each other in high school. So like there's that where they didn't really know each other, and then they develop a relationship and end up like doing that. But then it's also like their teenage struggles of wanting to perform really well and go to like nationals in their respective sports and stuff.
This literally just reminds me of the series Suzuka, which is almost the exact same thing except replace badminton with track. They both do track. One of them does track because the other one was still doing it, and he used to do it, so he gets back into it. And like the manga goes past where the anime does, and the manga literally has a point where she moves out of the country to do track, and then he doesn't go with her, but then she comes back, and it's a whole thing. It is a whole thing, and that is like, it's not the exact same thing as what you're saying, but it is very similar.
Yeah. I remember reading the Suzuka manga like ages ago.
It's so good.
It is.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed Blue Box. Like,
okay.
Like if you need like a decent palate cleanser, like it's pretty good for that like type of like story. Like I was just like, fuck, are they gonna just start dating it or what? And like really like getting into their story.
It's one of those series, huh?
Yeah. Well, and then it like goes into like he's got like a like friend who like really likes him, and then like she's got like people, and like it
that's like literally what happens in Suzuka.
Yeah. I mean,
Suzuka's got the same thing going on.
There's two fucking like series. There's fighting and there's fucking. Which one are you?
Both of them.
Some of them are both, but you're either, you're one or the other, or you're both. You choose. And then there was like one more I had just started, and I like posted like a screenshot from it. Super Psycho Policeman Choju. It's very new. There's 7 chapters out. But it's about a like someone who has like psychic powers is a cop, and then he just like gets a new a partner in his precinct. It's very gaggy, very funny. The screenshot I posted was like a kid, like a 10-year-old who is basically Yugi Moto shows up for like a chapter because they go to a like a card game, but his name is It's My Turn.
Oh wait, that's not an edit. That's a real thing.
That's really in the manga. Like his name is
so
It's
funny.
My Turn.
That's so funny.
Yeah, no, like that one is it's like I said, there's only 7 chapters out. I recommend at least checking it out because it's very funny. What
is the name of this again?
Super Psychic Policeman Choju.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
It makes references to like other shonen properties and stuff. It's fun. It's just fun.
It's my turn. I love it.
So that's all I have there.
Yeah.
So we had quite a bit to talk about, both in and out of Zelda. We hope you guys enjoyed this first part. It's a good thing we broke it into 2 parts because we're going to have a lot more to say about the games coming up in part 2 that we'll do later this season. As always, though, thank you guys all for tuning in. We got an outro. We're going to roll it. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Gaming Stooges Talks podcast. If you enjoyed us, consider subscribing to our podcast RSS feed, or follow us on youtube.com/GamingStooges and twitch.tv/GamingStooges for more gaming content. If you'd like to chat with us, join our Discord. The link can be found in the episode description. We also want to thank all of our Patreon supporters. Your continued support means a lot to us. Not already one? Please take a look at what we have to offer anyone who becomes a patron at patreon.com/GamingStooges. See you next time.